What's going on, everyone? So, Elgin is really trying to help Fatima get acclimated to the changes that she is experiencing with the baby, right? She has this hunger, this quench that needs to be, this thirst that needs to be quenched. And you see Elgin feeding her his blood in order to kind of expedite the process of the baby. And we see that Fatima actually is starting to have a baby bump. And it is coming, and it is coming fast. But here's the thing, right? This pregnancy has really expedited, right? It hasn't been a 9-month pregnancy. And she went from being like rail thin and not looking pregnant whatsoever, and trying to justify and having to go, oh, she's not really pregnant, right? The ultrasound came back, showed nothing, right? She doesn't look pregnant. I mean, even Ellis is like, she's like, no, I've been measuring myself every day, and look, I'm different. It's getting bigger. And Ellis is like, Fatima, like you look the same, like nothing's changed. She takes a sip of blood, and boom, all of a sudden, she's got this very noticeable baby bump, and chances are she's going to give birth to a baby next episode. So unless, months have passed in between the episodes, right? Like, chances are she had this baby process heavily expedited. Okay, if the pregnancy process is, say a month, 2 months, whatever, right? Well, then chances are that the growth of the baby is expedited, right? I don't imagine a scenario where, okay, well, she doesn't have to carry the baby full term, but the baby, it's going to really grow and develop in real time, right? I don't really see that being the case, especially with this place and how time just seems to be very different in numerous circumstances in this place of FROMVILLE. My guess is that Fatima will give birth to the baby in the next episode, and that baby will, I don't know, I don't think it's going to just like pop out and it's full grown, but I could see it having a growth that is exponentially quicker, right? Maybe days or years, or weeks or years, or months or years, compared to like a normal, like, okay, you are 3 days old. It's like, no, like 3 days, he's like 3 years old. So in like a month, that monster is fully grown, right? Is it something like that? Like, what is the process to these monsters, right? I mean, look, we've all known from the beginning, it's a monster baby, right? Like, there was only 2 options. Either the baby is growing and developing and is evil and has this hunger and anger, and that's what's causing Fatima to kind of go through her transformation. Or it's Fatima herself going through her transformation, right? We knew that the monsters were human at one point, right? Christy talks about how when she's doing the autopsy that this used to be human. And then also in the Attack of Colony House, you had one of the monsters relay, like, hey, I didn't choose to be like this. I wasn't always like this, right? Like, now look, right? So, okay, so either Fatima is going through some metamorphosis and some change to become the monster, or she has this pregnant baby. And then also when they did the ultrasound, they even said, like, it could be this invisible baby like Boyd had the worms. I don't think, and I even said this at the time, I don't think that was just a throwaway line. I think that is probably the case, right? Like, because it would make more sense. Fatima it was impossible for her to get pregnant, right? That's what she thought. And Donna, it's a miracle. Like, you think this place is a monster, right? Like, well, she's the perfect candidate for that, like, immaculate conception of evil, right? Like, she can't give birth. She can't give life. It's the end of a bloodline. It's the death. Okay, well, here you go. Here's the death, right? Here is now an evil baby that you have to raise and grow inside you. And I mean, even Elgin himself said, like, it's a baby, but it's not yours. She's just the housing unit, right? She's just the one that's supposed to produce it, right? So, okay, so she has the baby. Boom. How long until that baby is full grown? And what's the process? Because, okay, 2 things happen. Either A, she gives birth to the baby, and then they take the baby and go, and then they raise the baby, or the monsters take the baby, and the monsters raise the baby. But, like, are the monsters just going to be like, are like, okay, well, now you're the mother and father of the baby, so you have to raise it, right? And they're just, like, raising a baby for 30 years, right? And, like, does that take, like, 2 monsters completely out of the picture? right? Does the monster baby go to like the big bad, right? Whatever the big bad of this place is, right? And that monster baby has the responsibility of like, being raised by the big bad, or is it like the boy in white? Right? There's got to be either something or someone steps up and raises the child for, you know, the entire growth process of years, which, people don't really live 30 outside of Victor, don't really live 30 plus years there, right? Or it's something where the monsters are the ones that are raising, but then that kind of like takes two monsters out of the equation, or the baby just expedites and hurries it up, and in a month or days are full grown, right? Because I don't see it being something where the baby is going to be a baby for 6 years. I don't think it's going to come out the womb full grown, but I do think it, like, a couple days later, right? A week's passed or a month's passed since that time, and we pick up in season 4, right? It's been like a month, and all of a sudden you see this new monster, and the new monster pops up, and the new monster is like terrorizing people, and it's like, there's that's Fatima's baby monster. Maybe the monster even has a connection to Fatima, right? Is that something? Could that baby not want to kill Fatima and not want to like go after Fatima? Because there is this like just, that was the one that raised me type thing, or do the monsters just not care? Do they lack any type of emotion or empathy, which kind of seems to be the case. But, you could maybe have something where, in next season, the monster has a chance to take out Fatima. Right? Maybe the monster has a chance to kill Fatima and doesn't. Right? And Fatima has this connection to whatever the monster is that it is. Right? And, does Fatima kind of have these like motherly instincts towards the monster? Right? Like, again, does Fatima and Ellis raise the monster? Right? Like, maybe that's something. Maybe they keep the monster, and it's like, hey, let's grow and develop this monster ourselves. Right? Like, maybe we can raise it to be good, and now we have this weapon that we can throw at the town. Right? When the monsters show up, we can open the gate and let our monster take on their monster. Right? And kind of prep and train this monster, whatever. Right? Like, that's a typical horror trope in and of itself. But I don't see, like, it doesn't make sense unless because it's clearly a baby now. We know it's a baby now. So whether it's a monster baby or not, is it really going to take 30 years? Are they going to have some like kid monster running around eating people? Right? Now look, just because there's never been a kid monster that we've seen doesn't mean that they all weren't. Maybe they all were children at one point. Right? Like, that's always a possibility, right? It's very possible that there is just, like, maybe that's the process, right? Maybe the baby is born and there is a monster baby, and, and then it becomes a monster child, and then a monster teen, and then so on and so forth. And then maybe we just start seeing over the years this, like, monster that continues to grow. Again, just because we haven't seen something yet doesn't mean that it doesn't exist or that there isn't one. Right? Just because, like, there hasn't been a monster baby that we've seen in any capacity doesn't mean that there won't be at some point. Maybe this is that point. And maybe we'll get to kind of see a new wave of monsters. Some type of change. Is this the first one that is immaculate conception? Right? Is this the first one of its kind? Right? Maybe it's a different type of monster, period. Or maybe the monster is half human or something like that. Right? Have all these monsters have been created through birth? Or were they kind of going through this metamorphosis? Right? There's so many questions on just the potential and direction in which they go with this, right? Like, there's still a lot of questions that need to be answered in this regard, and I'm hoping that they're able to kind of answer most, if not all of it, in this next episode. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you think that, like, yeah, like, I don't see a scenario where the baby gives birth and it's, a baby for ever, right? Like, for years. Or do you think, like, no, like, yeah, it can make sense. Maybe you get a new version of a monster, right? Just because we haven't seen baby monsters running around doesn't mean that at one point there weren't, right? We came in at the time where they were all full grown, which I do think could be kind of an interesting, like, imagine like some monster baby running around eating people. Like that could add kind of another layer. And, look, like the little guys all monstered out, right, is a typical horror trope, and it is creepy, right? When you see the monsters running around and they're like kids eating people and stuff. And what a great, I mean, the monsters always are trying to like manipulate people and lure people and stuff, right? You have some little kid that's out there, like someone new that's in the town and is just like, somebody help me, right? Like they're going to run out and try to go help that little girl or that little boy or whatever. And boom, now they're eating, right? Now they're monster food. So I don't know, going to be kind of interesting to see how it plays out. But again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, either way, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.